Beck Weathers, left for dead twice, somehow survived Everest. They checked his pulse. They looked at his frozen face. They told base camp he was dead. And then they walked away and left him lying in the snow. 18 hours later, he stood up and walked into camp. This is the closest thing to a resurrection that Everest has ever seen. This is the story of Beck Weathers, a Texas pathologist who should have died on May 10, 1996. Not once, twice. His teammates left him for dead in a blizzard. The next morning, rescuers looked at him again and decided he was too far gone to save. And somehow, against every law of medicine and probability, Beck Weathers got up and saved himself. His story raises a question that scientists still can't fully answer. Where does the human body's ability to survive end and something else begin? Who was Beck Weathers? Beck Weathers was 49 years old in 1996. He was a successful pathologist from Dallas, Texas, a doctor who spent his days looking at tissue samples under microscopes. Comfortable career, nice house, wife and 2 kids. But Beck had a problem. He was deeply unhappy. His marriage was struggling. He felt disconnected from his family. Something was missing. So he did what a lot of successful, unhappy, middle-aged men do. He found a dangerous hobby. Beck started climbing mountains, big mountains. He threw himself into the sport with the intensity of someone trying to outrun his own demons. Within a few years, he had climbed 6 of the 7 summits, the highest peaks on each continent. Only Everest remained. In 1996, Beck paid $65,000 to join Rob Hall's Adventure Consultants expedition. He trained hard. He prepared carefully. He was going to finish what he started. What he didn't tell anyone was that he had a problem with his eyes. The vision problem. A few years before the Everest expedition, Beck had undergone radial keratotomy, a surgical procedure to correct his vision. The surgery had an unusual side effect. At high altitude, where air pressure drops significantly, the shape of his corneas changed. His vision would blur and sometimes fail completely. Beck knew about this. He had experienced it on previous climbs, but he went to Everest anyway, hoping it wouldn't be a problem. On summit day, it became a very big problem. As Beck climbed above Camp 4, his vision started to deteriorate. By the time he reached a feature called the balcony, about 27,500 feet up, he was essentially blind. He couldn't see the route. He couldn't see his feet. He couldn't see anything. Rob Hall made a decision. Beck would wait at the balcony while the rest of the team continued to the summit. If his vision improved as the sun warmed the air and changed the pressure, he could continue up. If not, Rob would pick him up on the way down. Beck agreed. He sat down in the snow and waited. He waited for hours. His vision never fully returned, and Rob Hall never came back down. The storm. While Beck sat blind and alone on the balcony, disaster was unfolding above him. The team had summited late, way too late, and now a massive storm was rolling in. Winds over 70 miles per hour, visibility dropping to 0, temperatures plunging to -40 degrees. Climbers started descending in chaos. Some couldn't find the route. Some collapsed from exhaustion. The mountain was turning into a death trap. Somehow, in the confusion, other climbers found Beck and brought him along as they descended. But they didn't get far. The whiteout was total. Nobody could see anything. A group of climbers, including Beck and a Japanese woman named Yasuko Namba, huddled together on the south col, waiting for a break in the storm. They were maybe 300 meters from camp. It might as well have been 300 miles. Beck collapsed in the snow. The cold was destroying his body. His hands, which he had removed his gloves to adjust his oxygen mask, were freezing solid. Ice was forming on his face. His core temperature was dropping. The others were in similar shape. They sat there for hours, slowly dying, unable to move. Left for dead the first time. Eventually, a brief break in the storm allowed some of the climbers to see where they were. A few of the stronger ones staggered toward camp to get help. When rescue arrived, they found Beck and Yasuko lying in the snow, apparently dead. Rescuers checked Beck's vital signs. His skin was gray. His face was covered in ice. He wasn't responding to anything. They made a decision. Beck Weathers was dead. So was Yasuko Namba. There was no point trying to move bodies when living people still needed help. They left them there and went back to camp. Beck's wife was contacted. She was told her husband had died on Mount Everest. Left for dead, the second time. But Beck Weathers wasn't dead. He was in a hypothermic coma, his body temperature so low that he appeared lifeless, but with a faint spark still burning somewhere deep inside. The next morning, climbers went back out to check on the bodies. When they reached Beck, they found something unexpected. He was still alive. Barely. His right arm, which had been frozen solid, had thawed enough that he was trying to move it, but he was still in terrible shape. His face was destroyed by frostbite. His hands were frozen claws. He couldn't stand. He couldn't walk. The rescuers made another calculation. Even if they could get Beck down to camp, he would almost certainly die anyway. Moving him would put the rescuers at risk. The math didn't work. They left him again. Beck Weathers had now been abandoned twice. His wife had been told twice that he was dead. The resurrection. And then something happened that nobody can fully explain. Sometime in the late morning of May 11th, Beck Weathers woke up. Not just regained consciousness, woke up, became aware, started thinking clearly. Later, Beck would describe the experience as a kind of vision. He saw his wife and children. He felt a sudden, overwhelming urge to live, not just to survive, to live, to get back to his family, to fix what was broken. He stood up. Think about that. This man had been lying in the snow for 18 hours in negative 40-degree temperatures. His hands were destroyed. His face was destroyed. He had been declared dead twice, and he stood up. Beck staggered toward where he thought camp might be. He could barely see. His vision was still impaired and his face was covered in ice. He stumbled through the snow, falling, getting up, falling again. Somehow he found the tents. He walked into camp like a zombie, ice hanging from his face, his frozen arms extended in front of him because he couldn't bend them. People in camp thought they were seeing a ghost. The price of survival. Beck Weathers survived, but the cost was horrific. His right hand was completely destroyed by frostbite. All 5 fingers were amputated. His left hand lost 4 fingers. His nose was gone. The tissue had died completely and had to be surgically removed and rebuilt. He underwent more than 10 surgeries over the following years. Skin grafts, reconstructive procedures, endless rehabilitation. His face was rebuilt using tissue from his forehead and ears. The nose you see on Beck Weathers today isn't the one he was born with. It was constructed by surgeons. But he lived. He went home to his family. He reconciled with his wife. He rebuilt his relationships with his children. The experience transformed him. The man who had gone to Everest running from his life came back determined to embrace it. Luck or willpower? So what saved Beck Weathers? Some of it was luck. Pure, blind luck. The storm could have been worse. He could have been a few hundred meters further from camp. Someone could have not checked on him that second morning. Some of it was physiology. Beck's body, for whatever reason, was able to enter a kind of suspended animation that preserved his vital organs while his extremities froze. Not everyone's body can do that. But some of it, maybe the most important part, was willpower. Something in Beck Weathers decided he wasn't going to die. Something deeper than conscious thought. Something that made him stand up when standing up should have been impossible. Medical science can't fully explain it. The human body isn't supposed to work that way. But Beck Weathers stood up anyway. He once said that the experience taught him that people don't really know their own limits. We think we know what we can survive, what we can endure, what we can overcome. We're usually wrong. Beck Weathers should have died on May 10th, 1996. He should have died on May 11th. By every reasonable measure, he should not be alive. But he is. The lesson. Beck Weathers' story isn't just about survival. It's about what happens when you stop running from your life and start fighting for it. He went to Everest, trying to escape unhappiness. He came back, missing his hands and his nose, but having found something he'd lost years earlier, a reason to be alive. Sometimes it takes dying twice to learn how to live. If Beck's story moved you, watch this next one. It might change how you think about survival.